Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Practical Tactics, where I basically go over different ways to develop, gratitude for today, momentum for tomorrow, energy for the world, empathy for others, and awareness for our souls. With all these, I'm basically, if you guys haven't been following me and following this series, I'm going over mental health, physical health, spiritual health, relationships, and purpose within our lives. And so, in order to develop gratitude, there are certain steps that I need to take. And so whenever I am off in my gratitude, there are certain things that I look to, with that being said. So I'm going over all the things that I look to, all of the different exercises and things that I have created for myself, based on all the things that I've learned. And so I use these things to take control, and I figure out if I'm lacking in certain areas of these, and if I am, I utilize these exercises, and it resets me, and it recenters me, and it allows me to, like I was going over before, it allows me to create a growth mindset for things. It allows me to cultivate the right mindset for things. And then utilizing certain practices, I check my perspective, and if my perspective is off, I regain perspective utilizing certain practices with that. So then when I am going from when I'm going from my mindset to my perspective, then I check one more box, and that's the accountability box. And so basically, one thing for sure that I know is as soon as I started taking accountability for my life, it basically got harder at that point. But not having accountability in the first place is what really fueled all of my negative self-talk to begin with. And so, honestly, we're going over things that are really going to help with your negative self-doubt, negative self-worth, negative self-talk, I can't even talk, all the inflictions that we put upon ourselves, we're trying to go over, because those are the villains that we all go through. Those are the similarities that we all go through. And so when we are experiencing these levels of self-sabotage, ultimately, because that's what it compounds into, when we're taking these head on and taking the offensive, we are starting to create momentum at that point by becoming disciplined within ourselves based on the things that we're learning from our new sense of gratitude. And so, I wasn't taking action at first. And so when my lack of action was basically fueling my lack of accountability, because it was in turn setting the flame of negativity, and it fueled it. And so just not taking action in general gives us idle time, and idle time is terrible, because idle time is the moments where we become distracted. It's the moments where we start letting other things begin to dictate our views of where we are in life at that point. So now I kept digging a hole, and I wasn't sure that I could get out of it, but I kept on digging. I didn't take the accountability of saying, whoa, I'm a little bit deep here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get out, so let me stop and just at least figure that part out, and then go from there. I literally just kept digging, because I kept getting lost in the way that the digging felt. It's almost like every time I was digging, I was very relaxed, I was at peace, things were good, and until there's something like a hair on my tongue. And so whenever I stopped digging and I looked around, I was like, holy shit, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And that's when I started to figure out, okay, if I can just start digging sideways, I can start to climb out and create some stairs, but that's going to take some time. And not only that, but you actually have to take the steps and create more steps, and that takes effort. And so you're not going to be able to do it all at once. You're going to have to take some time to dig yourself out of that hole. So ultimately, it tarnished my belief and my confidence due to lack of promises kept to myself. So not only that, but my lack of accountability was also tarnishing my belief system, tarnishing my confidence level, because I wasn't even keeping promises to myself at that point. I was all talk and no action. Like I said, I wasn't, taking the accountability of fulfilling the statements I was trying to make to myself. So that lack of accountability fueled further my lack of self-belief, my negative self-belief system, my negative self-worth system, my It brought out more self-doubt, more self-worth, like just trickled more self-sabotage, boom, boom, boom. It made me blame, which fueled my worth into arrogance, basically. So every time I would point blame, I was becoming more and more arrogant, and my ego was getting really inflamed as well, because I was thinking I was feeling more entitled to things, like, oh, I'm blaming you because this is going wrong. So it really just made me just a very arrogant person at that point. And so, like I said, I know for sure that when I started to realize these things, like I said, I started to take that shovel, dig it sideways, create some stairs. That's really when I realized how hard this is going to be. And I had to accept that. But you've got to realize that doing what is easy is in fact easy. You know what I mean? Doing what is hard, though, creates discipline, which is the beginning of how to create momentum, which is what I was saying. So, like, this is the last checkbox for the entire gratitude system, if you will. So, like, the pillar of gratitude and mental health, if you will, is up here. You cultivate the mindset, you cultivate the perspective, and then you cultivate the accountability. That creates a lot of discipline, which is the first step in creating a lot of momentum, which is what you do in physical health, which is what I'm going to go over in the next video after I do the breakdown of all of these and utilize them together and go over all the exercises. So yeah, basically, I can't rely on some expectation at this point, but I can only truly depend upon my own self-teaching. So that's when you've got to, like, reflect upon yourself internally and take that accountability, and then build the confidence, build your promises level, so that way you know and you believe in what you're doing. You believe in what you're presenting. You believe in what you're saying and what you're putting forth as far as action goes. Your belief in that begins to grow as your confidence level begins to grow, because you're starting to fulfill more promises to yourself. That all comes with the experience of failing, and then the teaching that comes afterward through all of that experience. And we can ask others for help, but we need to search within ourselves for the answers. I actually talked about this in my story on Instagram, and it's like, people are so quick to ask others for help, but the depth of the help solely relies on a lot of just things. So it's like, they're going to give you a very broad answer because they're trying to relate. The person you're asking is trying to relate to a bigger audience. So when you can experience everything and start teaching yourself, and then you can start to ask the questions within you and find the answers within yourself, that brings out more of it shows that you've truly reflected upon the things that you're trying to get, and the things you're trying to get out. So accountability is when you can release control, and the more you're able to release control, the more you're able to develop self-discipline, because you realize you're actually not in control, but you have complete control over what you can do in the moments that you're present. So when you can start taking that accountability and saying, okay, look, I can't control all of these bills that are crashing down upon me, but what I can control is what I'm doing in the meantime. Am I doing something that's going to hopefully create future income? Am I doing something that's going to create income now? Like, what am I doing in this present moment that's going to help me create something that's going to better the things that I'm, like, fearing right now, or the things that have put me in this position? So a few exercises real quick, and then I'll wrap it up. So in order to create more accountability in your mind, these are some exercises that I developed, that I do personally to help me cultivate more accountability in my life. So I stand guard at the doorway of my mind at all times. I'm always constantly thinking about, is negativity coming in, or is negativity, like, is it at the door? Like, what's going on? There's always things that are coming into your thought process, and when it does that, it infiltrates your actual actions. So yeah, stand guard at the doorway of your mind. Be wary of what's knocking. And so yeah, so decide if the people around you are being accountable, because if they're not, you might not even know about what accountability is. So be careful about that. Actually look around and see where people are at in their lives, and see how they view success, and see if they're where they're at and how happy they are. If they're constantly complaining about work and all this other stuff, then obviously, you got to reevaluate the people that you're around. and start becoming more accountable in that aspect as well. And so learn to set better trigger habits so you can develop accountability for all of what your life is. So basically, when you start to take a step back and audit the things that you're doing on a daily basis, I always write down my days and I write down the things that I do that day because it helps me better understand where I'm lacking and where my idle time is and where my downtime is. And then I can kind of assess what I'm not doing and what I should be doing and how I can accumulate my time better to leverage everything that I want. And so that's where like kind of the discipline starts to like kick in. And I'm like, okay, I'm really not being disciplined and I'm not doing like what I want, what I'm saying I want to do. And so taking the accountability, writing it down, being wary of the ways that you're feeling and the things that are coming in and auditing that, and then being accountable as far as going like who's around you and who you're exposing yourself to. If you have downtime and you're exposing yourself to somebody that is not pushing you in the direction that you want to go, that is directly going to reflect your mindset. I literally had to figure that out by constantly draining myself, or not draining, but like filling myself up with nothing but knowledge and downtime. So like even if I'm with my kids, I have like a podcast running in the background. Not like I mean like when I'm driving them to and from, like not when I'm like with them. Or like if I'm on my way to work or something, I'm listening to an audio book on the way from YouTube or something. Like I'm constantly siphoning up knowledge and siphoning up things for me, for myself, so that I can utilize later in the future or something or at some time. But usually the things that resonate with me, always I hear snippets of them and I'm like, okay, boom, boom, this clicked. Okay, boom, boom, this clicked. Boom, boom, this clicked. I don't necessarily retain all the information, but I retain enough of it that I've utilized for so long that it all becomes habit. Like all of this becomes habit. And then you could start to form your own little system from this. So like use this as like a template and then form your own little cycle system that you can kind of go over in your own mind to create more accountability within yourself. These are just some things that I go through that I actually wrote down that I wanted to share with everybody because it's like these things help me. So it can expose or open at least something up to maybe something in a new perspective for you to hopefully help if you're lacking in accountability or if you're lacking in gratitude. And that's basically what all these are for. So with that being said, good vibes, guys. And don't forget to check out the podcast. So the PRA podcast on all major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. The book is coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. And then also stay tuned. Follow me on all social media, S Martinez IV, as well as my blog on the Facebook page, which is the PRA Network Facebook page. You guys can like that page and you guys can hear, or you guys can like see everything that I talk about on the podcast, see everything that I'm going through personally, like everything that I go through and emotionally and all that stuff I pour out on the Facebook page. So if you guys want to share your thing or like it, and so that way you guys can be a part of the group in the future and share everything that you go through as well. Like I'm really wanting to build relationships with people and build a network with people. So as far as that goes, I have some amazing interviews coming on the podcast, so stay tuned with that. And then I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But if you guys have any questions, or if you guys want to talk about any of this, or if you guys have any opinions, or if you guys have any feedback on any of this stuff, and you guys want to kind of dive into your instances with accountability and how you guys do that and how you guys cultivate it and all that stuff, do it in the comments below, as well as check out some of my other videos. The one before, I'm not sure which side, but I'll put it either on this side or on this side. You guys can pick which one, you know what I mean? The first one is, like I said, perspective. This one is mindset. And then if you guys want to learn about all of it, just go to the first one. And then, yeah, subscribe, like the video, share it. Good vibes. Peace out.